Julie Berman.
Hi everyone.
Who is also a ninth grade counselor and is new to the high school this year and spent a little time with us at HCC last year, knew a lot of our students, which is great, so we feel so fortunate to have her at the high school this year. So we're both going to be talking to you a little bit today, but the operative word in guidance discussion group is discussion, and this is really, an opportunity for us to chat with each other and really rely, and I heard a lot of it happening already, rely on each other, and for you to hear from other parents who have gone through high school, their child has gone through high school, and to tell about it. But also, just to hear from you, what works, what doesn't work, what is the parent perspective here? We'll certainly give you the school perspective and things to think about, but I think probably most importantly, this is an opportunity for people who have helped their child go through high school and have some really great advice to share. So I encourage you, if you have an older child, to please chime in, please speak up, and as we go along, this is really a discussion, so no need to wait until the end, just chime in with your questions and happy to address them. I will just start out by saying this is a discussion. Sometimes we might have differing of opinions, and that's great, and as we should, but to please be respectful in how we discuss things with each other, to listen, to understand, and to appreciate the perspective of the person sitting next to you. So welcome. And today we are going to talk a little bit about clubs and activities, which is something that for our ninth grade parents is particularly, I think, people will find particularly interesting. How many of you have a ninth grade student? Okay, so that gives us a little bit of our perspective. So we'll talk about clubs and activities. I am going to talk about some of the updates we've done to our advanced website, which is our college website, and the information that we've added to that website over the summer. And then I was going to talk about the graduating class data, and I'll get into it, but this is the National Student Clearinghouse data on students who have registered for college, what they are doing, and how they persist or not over time, specific to Byram Hills. And I have data that goes back to 2015, so I'm going to be talking about that information. Of course, it's all positive, and you will be all the more happier that you have your child at Byram Hills, but I do think it's really important to know what happens to our students once they graduate Byram Hills, because that's not something that's easily tracked, so we're very thankful that we have the National Student Clearinghouse in order to do that. And this is us, by the way. If you don't know who your child's counselor is, that's kind of the picture. We all look relatively the same. Mine was taken during COVID. I think I might have to update the picture, but for the most part, you get a sense of who we all are in the guidance department. So again, myself, I am a ninth grade counselor. I have about 50 students on my caseload. The rest of the ninth grade class has Ms. Berman. She has a tall order. She is getting to know your children. And we actually were just in 2 mentor classes this morning. So right now, and I don't want to steal too much of your show, you're probably going to talk about this, but that's what we're doing right now. We're pushing into the mentor classes. We're introducing ourselves. We are letting students know, how do you use guidance in high school? How is guidance different from middle school and HCC, and what does that look like? And I think one of the best things about that is that we have the 2 senior mentors who are in there, and I get to put them on the spot, and I get to ask them, talk to the students about how you used your school counselor in ninth grade, and then how did that progress over the 4 years to now? How do you use your high school guidance counselor? And it's interesting for them to talk about that and what that experience is like. But I also think it gives the students a really rich understanding of what guidance is, and that we really could be dealing with a multitude of different issues on any given day. That's who we are, and that's perfectly fine. So that's happening right now. So, Julie, going to.
Hi, everyone. So one question that's come up a lot from parents at the start of this year is how can my child become more involved in the school regarding extracurricular activities and clubs. And Byram Hills High School offers almost 100 extracurricular and clubs. And on our website, I'll show you how to navigate it and see what the options are. In mentor classes today, we went in and talked to the kids about how there's an upcoming club fair. It takes place in school during their mentor class, and they can go in and talk to different club organizers and find out, what they might be passionate about, and they can explore different options. Some clubs have more of a commitment. Some clubs are just once a week or once every 2 weeks, so your child can decide how he or she wants to, how much time they want to commit. Okay, so on the Byram Hills website, so it's byramhills.org, and then you go to schools. I don't know if you guys can see over there, and you go to the high school. And then on the right side, under navigation, it says extracurricular activities and clubs. And so this main page has all of the current offerings and the advisors and an estimate of when there's a practice or when there's a meeting. I think some meetings take place at lunch.
But I think some may. They're supposed to be mostly after school, but there might be some meetings during lunch.
Okay, great. So you can scroll down and see all the options that your child will be introduced to at the club fair. And then right here at the top, there's a Byram Hills High School Clubs and Activities website. And the website's great because up at the top you'll see club offerings, and it breaks down the clubs by academic clubs, service-based clubs, community building, and then general interest. And so you and your child can explore the different options and see what interests them most.
Do you want to talk a little bit about why getting involved with clubs and activities is an important aspect?
Sure.
Of Byram Hills High School.
So, especially in 9th grade, getting involved sort of exploring the different options can sort of help them figure out where their passions lie. And as they go through high school, they will be able to sort of define themselves, because there's the academic portion, and then there's so much other stuff that they're interested in, that they're passionate about. And so figuring out where they belong, whether it's the Varley Players, or we have so many different academic clubs, community service clubs, and it sort of helps them define who they are and what it can show colleges what they're passionate about.
I think it kind of stands to reason that your child is more than just who they are academically, and sometimes students struggle with how to show a college or university who they are outside of just kind of the math and science courses, and so to make themselves be multidimensional, which we know our children are. And I think clubs and activities, or even what they're involved with outside of school, whether it be studying another language, studying music, religious involvement, volunteer as a family, those things really come to life for a student in the college application process, because it's an opportunity for a student to say and communicate really what they value, what's important to them. And it's the whole idea of do more than just telling me that, show me that. And how do you show a college or university who your child is, and how do they do that, is by their involvements. So if Chris Walsh were here, he would say any child who is going home every day after school on the bus, they are doing something wrong. He doesn't want students to go home every day. Of course, some days they have to, but get involved. I think that's the message. Get involved with something, whether it's a club or activity here or a sport or what have you. We want you to do that. And if your child is struggling, especially if you're a parent of a 9th grader, something that we often will hear from parents is, I don't know how to get my child involved. Let us know. If you think that that's going to be a source of angst in your family, which is completely normal, let us know, and we can have a conversation with your child. Ask, what clubs and activities did you sign up for at the club fair? What are you interested in? Are you having difficulty with that? We can kind of interject and help them along and find something. But this club fair on the 20th is phenomenal. It will be just for 9th graders during mentoring time. They can talk to people individually about the club or activity, and then for any student, 9 through 12 during lunch, they can take a look at the different clubs and activities, choose something. Maybe they chose something last year that they not that interested in anymore. This is a time to switch, and they should absolutely sign up for other clubs and activities. Any questions about clubs, activities? Any questions for Julie? Because I'm going to let Julie go back to work and see our 9th grade students, and we'll continue on. Thank you so much, Julie. Okay. If you want to, please take, there's more seats back there. Please feel comfortable. I realize that this angle is not the greatest. This is not working for me anymore. That just decided to work 5 minutes before the clock. So. And we are going to have announcements here in a minute, which we will break for. So one of the things I want to talk to you about is our Advance website. If you do not know what Advance is our college website. It's specific to Byram Hills. It's something that we spend a lot of time updating with relevant information about the college process. It is located on the guidance website. It's listed in 2 places. If you can't remember the word advance, because sometimes I struggle with that too, it's also on as the college website. Both places take you to advance. Okay, so advance is something that we put together during COVID and then have really expanded. And the reason why the advance website is so important and we have to keep it updated is that our students have different needs when it comes to the college process. Some of our students have a need to start things very early, maybe in 9th or 10th grade, and they need to be thinking about things about their life after Byram in 9th or 10th grade. But then we also have students who they're, maybe much later in senior year, this is all coming together for them. And so we wanted to be responsive in that way so that people could access this when it made sense for them in their own time and as a family when you needed this information. So on the Advance website, actually take you here, we have a bunch of different things. And one of the things I wanted to point out today is a timeline. So we've broken this timeline down for each grade. Because sometimes we're asked, what can I do? What can I help my child with? They're only in 9th grade. What are some of the things that we can be doing early on that will help in the college planning process? So we kind of outline that. And you see it's more bulleted and kind of just a little bit more bigger picture, but by the time we get to our junior year, we've got flow charts going. So, because it's definitely like we needing to meet certain deadlines. We need to meet, we need to have certain meetings along the way. For example, so that you can go out and visit colleges. Colleges are only kind of up and running until about May each year, so we don't want to miss those opportunities. So there becomes a lot more external deadlines and things that are going on. For example, SAT test dates, ACT test dates. So we need to meet those deadlines. And then by the time we get to our senior year, again, flow charts. What are we doing? Okay, this is just a general guide. This isn't something to be followed month by month, but this is more like, I don't know where to start, what should I be doing? This is a great place for you to come. One of the other things that I wanted to point out, and where are my parents of seniors? Okay. All right, so okay. Hopefully your child knows about this, but as you probably know, as of August 1st, over the summer the counselors are not back, but the Common Application is live as of August 1st. And our Byram Hills students want to be, they want to get going early on. So what we've done is we have put a whole bunch of how-to videos, how to answer every single question on the Common Application, stuff that could really get done without needing your counselor, okay, necessarily. You know, you don't need your counselor to tell you there's 172 students in the graduating class. We can have that up here, okay? And so these are just like really great like little tutorials on how to do everything. And for example, right now, we have the schedule for application clinic. Application clinic, as I was saying, is an opportunity for a senior to stop in, and a counselor will be there and will help them with all like the specific tasks that are kind of like, you don't need your actual counselor for that task. So it's, you know, like I said, merging your common application with Naviance, requesting transcripts to be sent, requesting letters of recommendation. That way students can come to one of these, get their questions answered, and, you know, really move on and not feel like they don't know how to do these kind of, you know, important steps. So that's one of the things that we've also updated on the advanced website. And then the other thing that I wanted to show you is under content tips. And I can rely on anybody who's had a child here who has done an application. For every single course that your child has to list on an application, they have to list what level of course is the course. And this is something that causes a lot of stress with our students, trying to figure out, was the course that I took advanced? Was it regular? Did it lead to a Regents exam? What is it? And a lot of times we get a lot of questions about this. And so what we've done is we've developed a list of every single course in the high school, the credits associated with the course, and for the most part, what level that course would be. Now, a student taking a course at a different time and in a different year, we might have to adjust whether it's an advanced course or an accelerated course, but for the most part, this answers a lot of student questions about our courses. Okay, this was, as you can imagine, a pretty big undertaking, but we were hearing from the students that they were really pleased to have this because they could check their courses that they were, you know, didn't know, and they would, you know, they would have that information. Okay. Again, all of this is under Common Application Support. I can keep going on and on and on. Other things I want to point out on here, we have a whole page dedicated to job opportunities. And we have something that's dedicated to pre-college and summer programs. And if your child is all interested in a summer program or doing some other kind of work outside of school, we have a list of that. And then lastly, something that we've really dedicated a lot of time to is for our students who have a learning disability or autism spectrum disorder. We realize that the college process probably looks very different for our students who learn differently. And we've dedicated a lot of time talking to people in the field of learning disabilities to find out what is important about the process for these students. And we've put together a wealth of information and actually highlighted different programs at different colleges based on the level of support that our students might need. Because our students have varying levels of need when it comes to their learning, and colleges offer different levels of support based on student need. So if you have a child with a learning disability and you want to start getting acquainted with this information, you can really dive in here, and we actually went so far as to list particular colleges that we think do a great job, and actually the link to the actual program at these colleges and universities.
The slide that showed the different credits for the different classes, some were 0.5, some were 1, some were 2. Does that mean that that's what the college is taking from the high school as far as credits?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So on a student's high school transcript, they would have something like, English 9, 1.0 credit, who would say that. Or they might see creative writing, 0.5 credits. So the transcript will list all of that, and ultimately a student needs 22 credits in order to graduate, which our students far exceed at Byram Hills, so that's really never an issue about them meeting the 22 credits, but the colleges will see how many credits they took in high school.
I have a question about honors classes. If students are taking honors in chemistry or in physics, which are above like a certain level of classes, is it listed like a regular standard, or how did you specify the level?
Some of our classes actually have it in like the name, like advanced pre-calculus. Okay, so that's an advanced course. We don't use the terminology of honors. We use either advanced or accelerated or on level. So that is, we have that in here, but it's also on our profile. So for example, every student who applies to college, our profile, our school profile goes with their application to every school. So a college could say, okay, this student was in this particular course, let me look at the profile. Oh, I see that that's an advanced or accelerated course for this student because that's what Byram Hills offers.
But if they apply in common app, honors classes are not specified, like accelerated to anything.
They are on the transcript.
They are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they are on the transcript. Any questions about the advanced website? It has something for everybody. Don't wait until senior year. Don't wait until even 10th grade. Definitely jump into this website, see what we have here. And if you have suggestions about what we could add to the site, what would be helpful for you as a parent and even working with your child, what's missing from here, this is something that we're really looking to update and make it, make it as user-friendly for you and your child as it could possibly be. I should mention too, one last thing is that a week from this, I believe Thursday, and I will send something out, we are having a financial aid night. It's happening in September this year, and we are doing it in September because there are changes to the financial aid, the FAFSA, and we want to make sure that parents and students are well aware of those changes. But I think probably the best use of that night is for our 9th and 10th grade parents. It is never too early to understand how the financial aspects of college, how that works, because if you need to make any adjustments in the way that you're currently doing things, it's important to know that very early on. It's also very important to have discussions with your child about how financing of college is going to happen, and the earlier you can have those conversations, the better.
Sorry, did you say that was next Thursday?
Yeah, I think it's next Thursday. Yes, and we have a person from Siena College coming to do that. Let me just double check the date of that.
Yeah, 21st at 7.
21st. Okay, 21st at 7.
That's what it is.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
That chart that you have, the on those common colleges, those are application numbers in the far column?
Yes, I jumped ahead of that. I'm going to get to that. I was going to make you promise that we weren't going to ever use this list as the definitive list to, have your child apply to, but I jumped ahead. So I will get to what that. Is, but we'll talk about where it's coming from. So as I discussed before, each year, the National Student Clearinghouse gathers information about our graduating class, and they have to give us that information, and we think it's really important information to understand what happens to our students after they leave Byram Hills. And this is based off of students registering at colleges and universities with their social security number, so that's how this information is being tracked. What we know is that this information about graduating class dates as far back as 2015. So it's the year span from 2015 to the class of 2022. Doesn't include 2023. They haven't really gone to college yet. Okay. We know that 93% of our students enroll in college the year after high school. Okay. So 93% was the average over the span of 2015 to 2022, and realized that there were some COVID years in there. So, that number is a great number, but we had the year 2020, we had some students doing some different things that year, and even in 2021. And just so you know, I'm also gonna, when I have it, I'm gonna also give you the national averages. That the national average is that 62% enroll in college the year after high school. Okay. Just so you can kind of compare. 95% of the students enroll in college within 2 years of graduating high school. So these are Byram Hill students that, for whatever reason, maybe they didn't enroll in college the first year, they are enrolling at some point within 2 years of graduating, 95% of students. 97% of our students return to college for a second year. So you talk about persistence, you talk about, you know, having the grit and the determination. That is what this number really speaks to. The national average is that 61% returns for a second year. 84% of our students complete a degree within 6 years of graduating, and that number nationally is 63%. And then 74% of our students graduate from college within 4 years, and that number is, national average is 58%.
Can you please tell an average, or if you remember vaguely, how these numbers are different, let's say, from the previous numbers, like say 2010 or something like that?
It's a good question. I truly don't have no idea.
Okay, so you never got this data before?
No.
Okay.
Can I ask a
Thanks.
question? When you say college, is that a 4-year university or does that include community college?
It does include community college. College of any sort, registering for college. It could be a student just taking courses maybe at a local community college, is not quite ready to jump in. As long as they've registered to take a course, they're showing up in this data.
I'm just curious, do you have any idea what percent transfers?
What percent transfers? It's an interesting question, and we are starting to keep track of it just very anecdotally, but it's not an easy thing to track because not every student needs to go through Byram Hills in order to have their transcript sent somewhere else. So we can do it anecdotally, and we actually have started to do that just for the class of 2023 to keep track of that just for our own information. But the only way to really do that is to break it down by college and university, what we thought our graduating class of 2023 did, and then waiting a whole year and looking at it again and comparing the numbers. And there's so many reasons why data might be a little bit off.
Sure.
So we just don't feel like we're getting really good data. But what we do typically get, and I didn't get it in this grouping of slides, is the colleges and universities where our students transfer out of. So they give us the names of some colleges and universities where our students started but didn't continue on. If that's something that you want, if that's something that is important to you in the college process, I would ask your child's counselor for that information, and you can talk about that. And we have it from a few years ago. I don't believe it's not up to date in the last admission cycle, but it's interesting, you know. And I won't go too into it, but they seem to be the larger public universities in the South. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for a lot of our students, you know, and as you might imagine. Smaller liberal arts, Northeast or whatever, we don't have students that are transferring that much. But there's a lot behind that. There's a lot to consider with that. So what I did want to show you, which we already jumped to this. This is information that, again, is based off of 2015 to 2022. And it is the most common colleges for Byram Hills specific, okay, students, and I realize it's a little bit small. Again, I might make you all repeat after me. Do not use this list, okay, to determine the colleges your child should apply to. There are amazing colleges and universities out there. These are just the ones that our students tend to really want to go to enjoy and pursue. but by no means, is an exhaustive list of colleges and universities. Yeah.
So to clarify, this means that the student body as a cohort, this is where they've applied?
No.
Oh.
This is over 2015 to 2022. We have the most number of students right now at Michigan, or during that time frame, we had the most number of students attend Michigan.
These are attending?
Attending.
applying.
Not applying, attending,
Okay.
going.
Uh,
Yes,
That's
matriculated.
I thought it was applying also.
Yeah, matriculated.
And this
everyone wants to
is
go.
over how many years?
2015 to 2022. What I think is particularly interesting about this, and part of the reason why I'm showing it to you here, is we have colleges, Binghamton, SUNY Westchester Community College, that is on here. That could be a full-time student, it could be a part-time student, it could be just individual classes. Okay, so we talk about SUNY Community College, Westchester Community College, it's 5th on this list. It's 5th.
So if you take like a class to fulfill a GE during the summer at WCC, it shows up.
It's going to show up.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Schools like, let's see, SUNY Buffalo. I was surprised at that. I thought that was really interesting. That we have students, because you always hear about Binghamton, but SUNY Buffalo is pretty high up there on the list. Ithaca, high up there on the list. BU, Bucknell, Fordham, Villanova. An interesting range of private and public universities on there. But I think this is helpful for a few reasons. Obviously, it's important for you as parents to be educated about where our students are going, but they also got accepted to a tremendous amount of schools other than these schools. Most of our students are applying to 10, 12, even 15 colleges and universities. But secondly, is to think outside of the box when it comes to the college process, because with this, there's going to be a lot of internal Byram Hills competition for spaces at these schools. And if you know that your child is looking for something different, if you are looking to go a different route in the college process, you might want to avoid these schools, okay, on the list. And I know that parents are starting to get the message about this in the college process. One thing anecdotally is that we had over 25 applications to international schools last year, and 8 students in our senior class went to college internationally last year. That, I've been here for 23 years, I can tell you, that has never happened.
That's a small class.
And that's a small class. 8 students chose to go internationally. And understand, they were like, I can't compete in the US schools. They found what they were looking for in an international school. They were willing to look. They appreciated a different process than a lot of our other students, which was great. And I think, kudos to our department. They were really supported in that, because international, it's not like you just necessarily do the common application, and a lot of times it's a very different application and understanding what's needed. So we are looking and having conversations with a lot of families who are really looking at a different way of applying to college and thinking about what is right for their child, other than the schools that our students really tend to gravitate towards. Any questions about this?
Is this information also on Naviance, or?
This is not on Naviance. You might be able to tell this a little bit from Naviance, because if you look at a scattergram, you can certainly see where a lot of, where a lot of students apply. But you'd have to go like college by college by college. Got it. Yeah.
So are these the colleges that typically come for college visits, or is that list broader? And then I have a follow-up.
Such a good question. It would certainly be broader than this, but you might actually find that they're less likely to come because they know that they already know how to get students from Byram Hills. You can think of it like that, but certainly some of these colleges and universities definitely come every year.
Okay, so my follow-up question on college visits is, there's a bunch of schools coming in, some we've already toured.
Yes.
My son says he shouldn't go to those because those count as absences from classes. So can you speak to, is there a certain amount that they get I know kids shouldn't go to every visit and just skip class.
Right.
But should we be promoting our kids missing out on classes and visiting some of these colleges if they're interested in, so how do you balance that?
Yeah, so it's a difficult one because, they oftentimes are missing, really important classes. So I would say, as a general rule, that you can help your child prioritize what colleges and universities that are coming are the ones that they should be there for. What class do they miss, and stuff like that. I think certainly for a student who has not been able to be on campus for a particular school, that would be important. If they don't want to miss a class, there is a way we can certainly give the student, I think they actually have access to it in Naviance, is the person's email address of the rep, the college rep, and I think a quick email to the rep saying, I had AP Calculus during this time and I really feel like I needed to be in that class to understand it. I'm definitely interested. I am, possibly applying to your college or university, and just wanted to let you know that although I know you were here, I was unable to attend. And I'm not just saying that because I think that works from our end. The colleges and university reps have told us that that is sufficient and they understand that, and they don't want to take students out of AP Calculus and Bio and all these other courses necessarily all the time. But I also wouldn't want it to look like, this is a college that you're really interested in and they came to Byram Hills and you didn't come. So I think there needs to be some sort of an explanation as to why you didn't go.
So that's my point. Really interested to me is applying, and he's applying to a good number of classes, a good number of schools that are on that list, but he feels that he can't miss class that many times.
He should, if his number one college or college he's applying early decision is coming, I think he needs to be there.
Right, but if it's not that college, if it's just another one, it still should.
You can do the follow-up, like I said.
Okay.
If you are unable to get the name of the representative, just reach out to your child's counselor and we'll get that for you.
Going back to Naviance for a second, I forgot, when do the kids start to have access to it?
Eighth grade, so they have access now in eighth grade.
Yes.
But it's basically the same login. However they log into eSchool, however they log into their Gmail account is the same login that gets them into Naviance. So super easy, they can just go back in. We give them a refresher in freshman year, and we give them a refresher again in junior year on how to do that.
That's what I thought.
Do you invite the schools, or do the schools pick Byram Hills to visit?
That's a really good question. So Naviance has this feature called Rep Visits, where we populate our calendar of when we can see representatives and we make it live. And so any college or university that wants to come to Byram Hills, they just go on and they pick their time, their appointment. Sometimes though, we have colleges that for some reason haven't scheduled for us, but we know we have some students who would like to meet with that representative. If that's the case, let your counselor know and we will reach out to that rep and invite them.
What does the NCAA process look like to sign up for it?
The NCAA.
Yeah.
So the NCAA process looks like, it first starts out with an eligibility clearinghouse. So it's a pretty involved process that a student needs to do to enter in all the courses that they've taken. And also they have to talk about their level of play in their particular sport and give kind of like, whatever the involvement is that they've had as far as athletics. And they basically complete this form that takes a while. And at the end of it, it sends us, the school, an email saying, please upload the student's transcript for initial eligibility clearance. And that typically happens at the beginning of junior year. We get that, we work with the student on that, and then ultimately at the end of their senior year, their final transcript gets uploaded to NCAA and they get the final eligibility clearance once they've met all the different parameters that they've needed to meet. So if your child is possibly going to be a student athlete, Division I, Division II, they should be in touch with their counselor early on, and we can even do the whole NCAA process with the student if they want to do it with us.
I wanted to ask about studying abroad. Do you have any information, any guidance on how students can exploit rankings, time guidelines for applications, anything at all?
Do you mean study abroad once a student gets to college and wants to spend time studying abroad?
No, actually applying.
In
Applying to international universities or colleges.
Studying. So we do. I would say it's more of an individual, like to reach out to your college, your counselor, and they can give you kind of like some guidelines. I don't think we have anything on here, but given that we have 8 students going international, I think that might be a tab that we need to add.
Okay.
Because it does take on a little bit of a life of its own, and it just involves a lot of like work on the student and the counselor part to get, you know, the links, to get the application. It's not like the common application where, you know, you can go to one place and you can just see it all in one place. First, the list of colleges kind of needs to be developed first, and from there, the counselor goes on each of those colleges and universities and looks at the process, because it could really differ and vary by college or university internationally.
Thank you.
Yeah. But so I do believe that some international schools are on the common application now, and that does make it a little bit easier.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, you all promised me about this list. Okay. I had it on, I had it off. I had it on, I was like, no, I'm gonna trust you, I'm gonna put it on there because I do think it's helpful, and it gives you a good sense of where our students are going. Not necessarily applying, I mean, because obviously they're applying, but where they're actually going.
I'm so surprised about the email you suggested students write if they can't go to a college visit in the school.
Sure. Yeah.
I didn't know that they kept track of like who shows up for that. Does it matter who comes?
Weigh in on my
but
folks.
It depends on
Like,
the
I have a
college
college
kid.
kid.
And
Some schools want demonstrated interest and some don't, so it depends on the school, really.
Okay.
Right.
And it actually, for smaller schools, I think can make a big difference.
Okay.
They even look, I'm told, is this true? I don't know, Christina, if you could ask, that they'll weigh in that they even track like online responses, like for social
Right.
media, for very small
Right.
schools.
For, you know, listen, if you think about it, in this day and age that a student is going to college, there are so few things that could differentiate, you know, a student in the process. And some colleges and universities they want to really make sure that a student who is choosing them has done their homework, that understands what they're getting, that it's a match, you know, on a number of different levels. Obviously, our bigger colleges and universities cannot spend the time doing that. It's just too much. But again, I think your smaller, your liberal arts college, they want to know that you haven't just gone down and say, okay, I can apply to 20 schools on the common application. Let me just go down and fill in this list. They want to know that there's a reason. So it might not be the amount. It might just be a quality interaction once or twice with the school, showing up on campus, attending a local fair, having some outreach with a college rep. But they definitely are looking for that. If you're not sure about that in the college process, that is something that your counselor could say, you know, listen, if we need to prioritize who you're going to do your outreach to on your college list, here are the schools that I would spend that time making sure I had the outreach. These colleges really, it's not going to make a difference.
Yeah, that would explain it because my older kids went to massive schools.
Yes, right. Yes.
First, a comment. I would love to see even more data on the graduating class, so thank you for presenting that.
Yes, yeah.
Because it's very, very helpful, and there's like a lot of speculation on where people go.
Yeah.
So it's great to have actual data, so thank
Yep,
you, and
absolutely.
keep it coming. And then the other thing was like a logistical question about the PSAT.
Yes.
So for example, like, is every student automatically signed up to take it? Or is there anything that we need to do?
Beat me to it. So I have an email going out tomorrow, but I'll
Okay.
give you. It's new this year, so I'm happy to talk about
Okay.
it. So for those of you that have older children and haven't gone through this, you were spared this, but it is now digital. So the PSAT for juniors this year is digital PSAT. There's no more paper or anything else. So all of the directors of guidance in Westchester, we're all like, what are you doing? What are you doing? We're all like, you know, because we all have kind of different ways of doing it. But to answer your question, all students are automatically signed up for the PSAT. My email tomorrow going out to just juniors is saying if you know your child is not going to take it, please let us know, because that will help us know our exact numbers for that day. They do have to do one thing. It's called a digital readiness check, and we are doing that with them in their English classes at the end of September. And basically that's an opportunity for them to go into, it's called Blue Book. It's where they take the test, they go in. If they have any technology difficulty, we're going to know on that day. We're going to be able to help them solve it. And the student goes in and they make sure that all of their information is correct. They learn how to take the test digitally. They learn how to check the time. They learn, a bunch of different things, so they can really kind of practice it. They will have the code to be able to practice it on their own up until the date of the test, and then the morning of the test, each student is given their own specific code, which will allow them to go in and start taking the test. So they have to use our Chromebooks. Okay, so students cannot bring their own device on that day. They have to use ours. We've downloaded our Chromebooks with the necessary software in order to take that exam.
And I have one other question about the relationship with the advisor, because a lot of college applications require an advisor, a guidance recommendation.
Yes.
So how do you recommend that students kind of build that relationship with their advisor if you have a student who really doesn't have a lot of need for advising in particular? Should they be reaching out and filling them in when they have like a work experience, or they take the SAT and get a score, or whatever it is? Like, how do you recommend that they build that relationship so that advisor has a full picture of that student when he or she goes to write the recommendation?
Yeah. So I think all the things that you mentioned, stopping in there, being available, introducing themselves, letting them know not only the bad things but the good things, giving a copy of their resume if they have one to the counselor. For our juniors, we will start the college process in November, and those will be a series of individual meetings with the student to get to know them before we invite you as parents to come in. For that reason, we want to have a better sense of, if we haven't gotten to know your child at that point, we're going to schedule a few meetings to get to know them at that point.
It's an opportunity to a parent writes a letter
Yes.
Yeah.
So the parent statement, I know some people are like, the parent statement. But it really is an opportunity for you to tell us whatever you want us to know about your child that you think would be helpful in the college process. And we're going to give you that opportunity in your junior year, and we'll have that. And what else?
Do they also take the SAT together?
No.
No.
PSAT only.
Okay.
Yeah, PSAT only.
So anytime after that, sign up for the SAT?
Yes. Yeah, well, that I would definitely work that through with your child's counselor, because depending on the level of math that they're in now or any kind of prep that they're doing, that would differ, by each student. So I would say once the PSATs come back, to kind of digest that with the counselor. Should we stick with the SATs and take the SATs? Should we try the ACTs? Should we try a diagnostic of both? Is this a student who's possibly going to be test optional? So there's a lot of just different variables. So I would say once you get those PSAT scores back, that's a great time to start having those conversations.
So the PSAT happens in the junior year?
Correct. Yeah.
And what month, what timeline?
It's going to happen this year on October 18th. So if you have a child who's not a junior, on the morning of October 18th, they're going to have a 3-hour delay. They'll come in for the second half of the day, but the juniors will be here taking the PSAT on October 18th.
One question about the visits from college. Are those for seniors or also for juniors?
They are for seniors only. And it is for a number of reasons. One is that we need to prioritize our seniors having the face time with the college representatives. And two is that our teachers do not like the students being out of the class when they're in junior year. They want them in the classes, and so we're honoring that. So I would say, wait till senior year. Yeah.
So, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
With regards to the SAT, I know
Yes.
obviously you're doing it digital because it's changing. Like, how do you feel about that for juniors that are going? Is that a whole different?
What do you mean, like how?
Like ACT versus SAT, because the format's changing, and I don't know.
Listen, for somebody my age, going digital is like horrific. But I understand your point. I think it's going to cut down on errors. I think it's students they have control more over time. They can go back and forth to different questions. There's a way to indicate and flag if they don't know something to go back to it. And so I think it's just going to be more user friendly. It's more in the world that they currently live in. It's, you know, it's much more what they're accustomed to. I think there's going to be, you know, bumps in the road, but I do know that we've been doing district-wide. We've been doing our testing, our state testing digitally without issue. I know that they've put in, you know, a whole bunch of just different wireless routers and everything else. So I don't expect to have difficulty, but at the same time, the first run of anything is always a little bit difficult. But luckily at Byram Hills, we only do the PSAT. So taking these ACTs and SATs would be at a different high school, and I would assume that they would have that buttoned up. If they're a national test center, they would have their ducks in a row for something like that. 'Cause that's a lot of students. If there's going to be an irregularity, that's not good. So, but yeah, I think we're going to all do this the first round and then digest it, what went well, what didn't go so well, and then obviously we have until the springtime to make any necessary changes for the SAT and ACT. I want to thank you for coming and for a great discussion, and appreciate, I think I actually have some good feedback on some things that possibly can add to this and even topics in the future. But if there's anything that you would ever like to share with me or just like to see at one of these, I would love to hear from you. And I thank you for coming out and supporting the role of the school counselor at Byram Hills. Thank you.
Thank you so much.